Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's Friday Reflections on this, the 14th of August 2020. I wish everybody is well, and I hope things are going well for you in your lives. And if they are not, then I pray Allah makes things easier for you and grants you means to get through whatever difficulties you are facing. Today there's something that I wanted to discuss. A questioner came on my Facebook and asked me a question. It was more of a combination of a question and an accusation. Firstly, about a video of Maulana Sheikh Hisham leading a group of people in Hadra. Now, this brother asked the question, what is this? Is this bidah? And then proceeded to make a lot of accusations about Sufism, suggesting that Sufism is bidah and is not part of Islam. Now, this is an ideology that we've had to deal with for some time as Muslims. And it comes from people reading certain hadiths and just taking that and not getting guided by a good teacher of Islam that understands things more holistically. So for instance, even what I'm dressed in here, they will say, what is this hat you are wearing? Where is this from? Did the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wear an Indonesian hat? Why are you wearing beads? Why do you use beads? This is bidah. I mean, seriously, do these people actually think about what they are saying? And it always, if you listen to them calmly, it betrays a lack of understanding. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, for instance, used to wear different kinds of clothing. He was given gifts, and this is in the Shaykh Abdul Qadir that a lot of these people will use. He was given gifts of clothing, such as Roman clothing, from the Byzantines, Persian clothing, and he used to wear it. Maybe not all the time, but he wore it at least on occasion. And this is recorded in these books of hadith. So there isn't a particular kind of clothing that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to wear. There isn't a particular kind of clothing that a Muslim has to wear. Hats, turbans, they will vary. They will vary according to local style. And when people ask about these beads, well, what's wrong with beads? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to do dhikr with date stones. This is reported in a book of hadith. Date stones. Maybe he kept them in a little bag, so he took them out, read zikr, and then they were put away afterwards. Well, a natural extension of that is to make little holes in the date stones and join them up together, and you would have something very similar to one of these tasbihs. This is probably made of wood that's been carved in this shape. It's just a means of counting. It does not matter. But some people will make this like a big issue and say, oh, this person is out of Islam because of what they are doing. Ignorantly, they saw this video of Maulana Sheikh Hisham leading a group of people in Hadra, and because maybe they hadn't encountered Hadra before, they don't realize that Hadra is a very traditional form of Muslim ceremony that is practiced in the Middle East, and has been for a very, very long time. I mean, we'd have to do some serious research to find out where it all started, but it's ancient. So you'd have to cross off all of those generations of scholars who have said this is fine and this is part of Islam and this is something that people do. And again, things like Hadra, it doesn't mean that you have to do them. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. It's not the Salah. But if you do it, it's also fine. There's a lot of things like this in our lives and a lot of things like this in Islam. And some people, when they say bidah, What they mean is bidah in religion. Okay, fine. Have they never, if they're going to go to Hajj, are they going to walk there from their hometown? Or walk there and ride a camel? Or use a horse? The whole journey to making Hajj is part of Hajj. It's part of making that journey to Mecca. It's part of making that pilgrimage. So if you get on an aeroplane and fly there, well, you're doing something the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ never did. If you get on a bus or get in a car, you're also doing something that they never did. This is something the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the Sahaba Ikram and generations before these technologies were invented never did. But they're actually doing something as part of their religion. So isn't that bidah in religion? Using exactly the same logic that these people come at us with. So clearly they haven't thought things through. And they're picking and choosing what they think is bidah and what they don't think is bidah. Which, what's their argument? If you think about it, what's their argument then? That's what they're accusing us of doing. So they do it themselves. So what's the issue? Bidah in religion is if I come along and I say, the Fard prayer in Fajr is 3 rakah or is 6 rakah. Or instead of reading an ayah, reading Surah Al-Fatiha and an ayah of Quran in each unit of prayer, you should read the Lord's Prayer and the Psalms. This would be bidah in religion, because I'm changing what it is. It becomes something that is not recognizable, and it's one of the essential parts of the religion. That's bidah in religion. It's not bidah in religion to do zikr, optional zikr using a tasbih. It's not bidah in religion to wear a different style of clothing because either you just like that different style of clothing or you happen to belong to a different culture and that's part of your culture. People have to understand these things. And, just throwing these accusations of it's bidah, it's haram, it's shirk. And to suggest that the whole, Hadra, Sufism, Tasawwuf, all of it is bidah. This is an ignorant comment. It is not the comment of someone who has knowledge. When a scholar criticizes something, for instance, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, when he criticized some things that Sufis did, he specified the things he was criticizing. For instance, he said some people who are, I'm paraphrasing, but you can check for yourself. He said some people are just like born into a family of people that were started by a sheikh. And they're basically looking after the center. And they have something, they will get some blessing, but obviously they won't have the same thing as the sheikh. Well, this is obviously true. But then people have took this and then suggested that Ibn Taymiyyah was against Sufism, when in fact Ibn Taymiyyah himself was a Qadri Sufi. He was a Qadri Sufi. This is one of the main scholars that people who call themselves Salafis point to. But he was a Qadri Sufi. So if one of their main scholars that they get their books from is a Qadri Sufi, what is their issue with Sufism? But probably they don't know. They've never read those books. They've not been shown that by their teachers. So, there's no substitute, of course, in learning and seeking these things out and trying to understand their religion more deeply, because when you do, then you start to see through a lot of these things. If you notice, I'm not angry. I'm not angry that they've questioned, but it is frustrating that I've been a Muslim now for 20 years. I embraced Islam on the 1st of March of 2000. And these are the same things that people were saying to me before I embraced Islam. 20 years. You would think that, some of these groups would have actually studied a bit more and realized And in fact, I do know a lot of people who used to think like this, and their minds have broadened over time as they started to study more, even though they remained within these groups and follow what they call Minhaj Salafiyya. But even then, they have still managed to come around to realize that a lot of the things that they used to think were wrong are not wrong, and that there is space for them within Islam. And this has come through their own studies within those groups. But it is frustrating that there's still people out there that they're like, how I like to compare them, it's like first graders, you know. I mean, imagine you've got someone who is, someone like Maulana Shaykh Hisham. I mean, it's unfair to compare him to a professor, but for the sake of this illustration that I'm making, I mean, he would be, if he was in academic circles, equivalent to a professor of Islam. He is the highest, and not just any professor, one of the highest professors of Islam. And these people, they're like kindergarten students. Kindergarten students, you know, they've just learned, you know, how to read Salah. They've not really read anything else. They've been shown a few hadith and just took them on face value instead of analysing, is this genuine hadith? Is the narration good? Is the meaning good? They've done none of that. They've just been shown some hadith by their teachers, and now they are criticising someone who's a Maulana. Now you compare that, you know, within academic circles, what would we think of someone who was in kindergarten who was saying to the professor of the university, oh, your idea of global warming is nonsense, or your idea of quantum physics is rubbish, it doesn't make sense. Well, of course it wouldn't make sense to someone in kindergarten. How would it? How would it make sense to someone in middle school or in high school? You have to have striven for that level of understanding in order to be able to question anything about it. And this is not something which they are prepared to do. It's not something which they're doing. Instead, they are claiming to possess the highest knowledge on Islam when, you know, just what they are saying illustrates that they don't know a lot of things. The very fact that someone questioned me on Hadra and wondered what it was, and then said it's bidah and it's deviant, without realizing this is a very, very traditional Middle Eastern practice. Very traditional. And what is Hadra? It's some very, very simple movements mixed with dhikr. Oh, of course, they have a problem with us doing dhikr as well. And yet, what is dhikr? All the things which Sufis read as dhikr are either the names of Allah, or the kalama shahada, or they are short little snippets from the Quran. What's the issue? All Muslims read these things. All Muslims do. Even those who belong to the Salafi Minhaj read these things. They might not read them in the same number, same quantity, or in the same way, but they read them. They read the Kalama Shahada, they read the names of Allah, and they read the Holy Quran. So what's the issue? The issue is a lack of understanding, and thinking something which clearly cannot be wrong is wrong and incorrect. So it's important to be aware of this, and also for those of us who are following these more traditional practices and have good teachers, not to feel flummoxed when someone comes along and says, oh, what you are doing is haram, this is bidah, this is shirk, this is not part of Islam. We shouldn't allow ourselves to feel flummoxed by that, because the more we actually look into it, we will see the basis of what we're doing, and we will see that it's not wrong, you know. And not to worry. Remember, kindergarten. But before I go, I would like to read a little letter from Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani from his 15 letters. It's a very beautiful one. This one is the 13th letter in his book. This is the English translation of his book. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. concerning the significance of the Quranic verse, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, with reference to certain other verses. Dear brother, when the brilliant rays of the lights of Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, start shining on the niche of our consciences, the glass of the heart will be so affected by them that it sparkles with the light of the lamp is in a glass, and the glass is as it were a shining star. The lightning flashes of the discoveries of this lamp is kindled from a blessed tree, an olive, will gleam forth from the canopies of the clouds of neither the east nor of the west. The skies of our innermost beings will then be adorned in their entirety with the stars of the wisdom, and by the stars they are guided, and with the planets of the embellishment of we have adorned the lowest heaven with the adornment of the planets. The moons of the present awareness will rise from the horizons of light upon light, and ascend to the constellations of the lofty elevation of, and for the moon we have appointed mansions, so that the nights of the heedlessness of, by the night when it is enshrouding, acquire the quality of, and the day when it is resplendent. The fragrant perfumes of remembrance, dhikr, will emanate from the blessed grace of those who seek forgiveness in the watches of the night. The nightingales of the trees of, they used to sleep only a little during the night, will sing their melodious songs of sorrow and grief until the dawn of the good fortune of, Allah guides to his light whomever he wills, makes its appearance, and the sons of the insights of direct knowledge, Shumus al-Ma'arif, begin their ascension from the point of he whom Allah guides. He is indeed the one who is guided aright. Into plain view will then emerge the mysteries of, it is not for the sun to overtake the moon, nor for the night to outstrip the day. They are floating, each in a separate orbit, and disclosed from the shapes of concealment will be the subtle enigmas of the secrets of, and Allah speaks to mankind in allegories, for Allah is the knower of all things. And again, like the letter of Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani that I read the other day, half of this text is actually quotes from the Quran. But he makes some beautiful points. It's when Allah's light touches your heart, then you start to discover things, then you start to see things you never see before. And your inner universe starts to be seen, starts to be illuminated. And then like the moon, you will begin to reflect the light of Allah. And this also through the zikr of Allah. And if you keep up these practices, you will eventually start to see a lot of things you didn't see before, and come to a new state of realization and awareness. And you'll start to see how things all work. Or at least an insight, because only Allah knows all things. SubhanAllah. May Allah bless Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani and his family. And may Allah bless everyone who tunes into these Friday reflections, and may Allah bless everyone in our human family. Allah make things easier for everybody, and grant us understanding, grant us calmness in our hearts, grant us patience through these testing times, and make a way forward a positive and constructive way forward for us all to come together and build more harmonious, better societies, and to resolve all the problems and challenges that we face as a human family. For the sake of our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Al-Fatiha, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim wa lad-dallin. Amen. I wish you all the very best, and I don't know, is there any questions? Yeah, haha, Bidah Army will be pissed, Sheikh. Yeah, it's they exist, but let's not be intimidated by them. With understanding, we start to see through these things, and indeed is a blessing. Okay, well, unless there's any questions, then I will wish you all Salam alaikum, and enjoy the rest of today, and have a lovely weekend. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.